What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? That's right, I am back, and welcome back to another episode of Peppy's Point of View. I am your favorite host, your favorite R&B historian, your favorite music critic, Peppy. And as you know, the month of February is Black History Month, and I decided to celebrate it by looking up a list of the top Black female albums of all time. And you know these lists can get quite interesting. I promise you they can get quite interesting and controversial. You just never really know why an album hits or doesn't hit, all right? Maybe it's just about timing. Maybe it's all about just the secret sauce of the group. And maybe it's the group or that artist, the artist paired with the right producer, so on and so forth. The group paired with the right producer, whatever the case may be. I really and truly do think that it is a great song. It has to be great songs on the album, definitely. And it's either a great song of the time, right? Or maybe it could just be a fluke. I don't know. You tell me what you think. But I was surprised. I really was surprised when I looked at this particular list and I discovered that the ladies of In Vogue, they were not on this list. Now, I'm not trying to bring up other, acts and kind of compare and contrast other groups, but I did see on this list, if I'm not mistaken, I know I saw Destiny's Child's one of their albums on this list. I saw TLC's one of their albums on this list. I know I didn't see Escape, and I don't know if I saw SWV, but I was saying to myself, like, come on, you guys. 50 out of the 50 top albums of all time, Black female and In Vogue was not on that list. So I intentionally said I was going to talk about these ladies in this album. And I decided to get around to it. Now, I listened to two other albums, and these divas are big divas, like they're huge divas, okay? And so when I was listening to their albums, I had so much going on that I just couldn't concentrate. And so I said, I was going to put these divas to the side. I said, I'm just going to go ahead on and, listen to In Vogue's Funky Divas album again. And baby, let me tell you, I went back down memory lane. I love how things come together. Terry Ellis, one of the ladies of In Vogue, she has a song called "Back Down Memory Lane" on her uh, Southern Gal album. So I like how they came together. Anyway, but I went back down memory lane. Let me tell you something. I don't know if it's just the mood I'm in right now. Maybe I'm just in a good mood. Or I don't know if it's just that, maybe it's all about timing. But what I will say is that I've listened to this Funky Divas album before in the past. I'm talking about like maybe, months ago. And I didn't get the feeling that I have right now. And that's interesting. Like I said, maybe it's just your mood you're in. Uh, Listening to it now, I got the same feeling I had when I thought about when this album first came out. Now, maybe it's a tad bit different because I was actually listening to the album, uh, like I said, a few months ago, and I was listening to it just to get a particular song in a particular feat, just to hear a particular song. Now, for those of you guys who have listened to me long enough, that you know what I do when I listen to the song, I try to kind of go back down memory lane and kind of focus on what was I feeling, what is the song trying to say to me, so on and so forth. I kind of bring in my own personal experience about what was going on at the time, right? Because I want to make sure that I am doing more to the song and to the album than just listening to it for a hit song or the song or songs on the album. And so I got the feel all over again. As I said, I went back down memory lane. And I want to talk to you guys about it because I brought up some things now or noticed some things now that I never talked about when it came to this album at all, or to the or about the ladies of In Vogue. So anyway, as you have it, we're talking about the Funky Divas album, certified 5 times platinum. Yes. All right, so let's just get down into it. And how about we just talk about some things, first of all, as it relates to the album before I talk about the songs on the album as well. And as you know, from time to time, I will dish out the dirt on who drop kicked who in these entertainment streets. And who knows, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that with the Divas today. Maybe I will. You have to stick around to see. All right, what do we know about the Funky Divas album? All right, so Funky Divas is the second album by the ladies of In Vogue. Of course, we know it was released on Atlantic Records. Atlantic Records is a division of East West Records. It was released March 24, 1992 in the United States. It was conceived after the success of their Grammy Award nominated debut album Born to Sing in 1990. Of course, the ladies worked again with Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy on the entire album. Uh, Tommy and Denny produced and wrote on the Born to Sing album. And this time around, uh, the ladies of In Vogue, I guess you could say they kind of went in and out of different genres of music. Okay, uh, you got contemporary R&B, New Jack Swing, and hip hop. Uh, as was the previous album, Born to Sing. But now, you know, they got classic soul, they have blues, they have doo-wop on the Funky Divas album. You have, as I like to call it, in-house, in reggae, in rock, in vogue. Uh, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what they said when it said it ain't over till the fat lady sings. I got to get the groove in my head first. But anyway, I was trying to do that real quick. Okay, I failed. They also did two cover versions of the movie Sparkle, uh, originally sung by Aretha Franklin, which would be giving him something he can feel and hooked on your love. And of course, you know, the rock, the heavy metal song Free Your Mind. The album also became the group's second album to earn a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocals uh, during the 35th annual Grammy Awards. They also won Favorite Soul R&B Album at the American Music Awards of 1993, as well as they received the Sammy Davis Jr. Award for Entertainer of the Year at the 1993 Soul Train Music Awards. I forgot all about that. In the United States, Funky Divas debuted at number 8 on the Billboard 200 album chart and reached the top spot on Billboard's top R&B hip hop albums chart with first week sales of 60,000 units. Interesting. A major commercial success, it became one of the biggest selling R&B albums of the year, exceeding sales of more than 3.5 million copies domestically. It was eventually certified triple platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America on March 24, 1993. Billboard ranked Funky Divas 25th on its Billboard 200 year-end chart. Not bad, while ranking it seventh on the top R&B albums year-end chart. Even better, as of 2018, it remained In Vogue's highest peaking album on both charts. Internationally, Funky Divas reached the top 40 on the national album charts in Canada, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Sweden. A steady seller in Canada, the album eventually was certified platinum by Canadian Recording Industry Association. The album reached its highest peak in the UK, where it peaked at number 4 on the UK albums chart and reached gold status, indicating sales of excess of 100,000 copies. With a worldwide sales total of 5 million, Funky Divas remains In Vogue's biggest seller within their discography. Discography, yeah, discography. I'm sorry. Hey, let's just get right down into it. And you know how I do. I always have an involved stories or try to tie things together. So let me kind of tie it together for you guys real quick. How I want to tie this together. I remember, and if you follow me regarding In Vogue, then you already know my aunt told me, introduced me to the ladies of In Vogue twice with the Born to Sing album and with the Funky Divas album. I remember with the Born to Sing album, my aunt was like, the In Vogue was on Soul Train. I was in the living room with her. She was watching Soul Train. Uh, and then she gets on the phone with, and my aunt's like 5 years older than me. So she was probably about 17 or so at the time. And she was on the phone talking to a friend of hers in the neighborhood. And they was talking about, In Vogue being on Soul Train together. And I heard the friend say, "Oh, you got the album?" She was like, "Yeah, I have the album or have the cassette or whatever." And so my aunt asked me to walk over to the friend's house to get the album or to get the cassette tape. And I got it, and that's how I got a copy of the album. She had already had a copy of it. Blah blah blah. It is what it is, and that's how I became hooked on In Vogue, seeing them for the first time on Soul Train. But of course, the video and everything was already out. The next time In Vogue released their album, Funky Divas, everybody knew then I was just an In Vogue fanatic. I was like, it was just, there was nothing better to me than In Vogue. And my aunt, she called me up. By this time, she had moved out of town, moved out of the state or whatever. And she called me up and she was like, "Guess what? In Vogue has a new song out." And the song was already being played all over the radio, and she allowed me to listen to it. She put the phone up to the radio, and I listened to it. And I remember just saying to myself, first of all, I was like, I couldn't get into it because I was trying to listen to it, and I was so excited to know that In Vogue had a new song out. And I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of like it, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I end up coming across the In Vogue video for My Loving You're Never Gonna Get It. And man, it was just like all over again. Like I just was back into my In Vogue trance. And there you have it. And I remember when I finally purchased the album, okay? And I can't remember what song was out at the time when I purchased the album, but when I eventually purchased the album, you guys, and I'm telling you, these are true stories. When I purchased the album, I remember going, I don't know why I did this, but I did. I remember putting my radio in my bedroom window, okay? And that means it's in my windows. The speakers are pointed to the outside, right? Outside. And I blasted. I'm here to tell you that album, I turned the volume up, and the entire community, the entire neighborhood heard me playing In Vogue's album. Everybody knew I had the In Vogue album, and I played it. Like I mean, I played that album. And what I did was when I put it in, and I went outside, just like I said, listening to the album. I mean, listen to the album outside while it was just in my window. The radio was in my window, and people coming by. I was like, "Oh, you got the new In Vogue album?" I was like, "Yeah," telling everybody so on and so forth. And believe it or not, I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't a lot of people, but when people came up, walking past my house or whatever, the neighbors, so on and so forth. Some people just kind of walked up, just kind of listened to it a little bit with me, and walked off. And then some people actually came out, and just sat, on their porches, just listening to the album. And we was pretty much talking about the album. I mean, true story. Because by this time it's 1992, and everybody knew I had a reputation of having music, loving music. People would always come up to me and say, "Hey, I had a nice size music collection," and people would just come up and say, "Hey, can I, look through, see what you got?" And they would probably ask me to either play it or they would ask me if I would allow them to, listen to it. And I'm pretty sure when they took it, they went and made a copy of it, I'm sure, and then brought it back to me. And so that was pretty much one of my, initial experiences with this album. And so for me to go back and listen to this album again, that's where I found myself in. And I think this is the reason why I'm liking this album the way I do now, is because when I would listen to it in the past now, I have to be honest and admit some of the songs, sometimes when I'm listening to it, it comes off kind of cheesy. And I'm like, what were they thinking, with a particular song? Like, for example, and I guess this is where I would go into now talking about the album for sure. Uh, at first, I mean, not at first, but now I would think that some of the songs are kind of cheesy, like songs like Desire, um, This Is Your Life, It Ain't Over Till the Fat Lady Sings, um, maybe Hip Hop Lover. Listening to some of those tracks, I'm like, I don't know what they were thinking about at the time. Now, I'm not quite sure, what they were thinking about at the time. Now, listening to it and going back and getting the feel of, In Vogue being who they became at the time, who they were becoming at the time. I'm like, these ladies were definitely on it. They were definitely trend setting. The entire album, I'm here to tell you guys, I don't feel that way going back down memory lane, like track for tracks. If I am in 1992, this is the album to have. 1992, in Vogue's Funky Divas album, and I'm like, track for track, I love this album. So let's just go in and talk about it now. So when we get to This Is Your Life, what I like about uh, the track in it and of itself is the introduction part of it. I like how it gave us a feel of them opening up a show. So I like that part. They're doing a show. They're opening up the album, opening up the album as if hey, you're about to get a show. This is going to be in Vogue in concert. This is a concert that is about to take place. So I was like, oh, okay, this cool. I like that. Now I can't recall because at first I was listening to it and I was like saying to myself, like, I don't hear Jody Watley's I want your love. And then eventually, as I could focus on the background music, I was like, okay, I hear it now. There it is. It's in the background. I like the part about the skits, of how they will probably be interacting, getting ready for a show. I like that a lot uh, as well. But then when the song finally comes on, and I have to admit, I kind of think it was kind of cool for that song possibly to be the first song in the way they did it because again it's opening up, the people are cheering, you can kind of get the feel of them coming out on stage, the fans are cheering them on, it's a show. But what I like most about this song is the message. I love the message of the song, and it speaks to me even now today about where I am in my life and about, hey, this is your life. You got to live it your own way. I just love the message. It's a very positive message. And I think the message, of course, has stood the test of time. And that's one thing that you can get in Vogue's music that I love so much is that there was always a message about love, a message about prejudices, uh, and things like that. Like they always had a message in their music, and I appreciate that. Even with lies, lies was a message. How lies can ruin reputation, so on and so forth. So I love that about In Vogue, the song. This is your life, the message. Then of course we go in and we still get that jokes. They still like to put in jokes in their songs. And one thing I think now about Terry going back to the song "This Is Your Life," I kind of see her as being Mama Bear. Yeah, don't you? I don't know. I just get the feeling that she was very much aware. Uh, that's how she came off with, in the group as far as her singing and what she would sing, or the material they would give her to sing. She came off as Mama Bear, right, to me. And that's and wise, I should say. And I'm pretty sure it's still a quote that she said once before. I'm pretty sure she says this still today. And she would always say in a interview, she was like, what would you tell people? You know what? Be yourself. To your own self, be true. To thy own self, be true. And it's just what it is. Then we get to my loving, you're never gonna get it. The thing I like about this song, you can't think of my loving, you're never going to get it, and not think choreography. That's what I like most about In Vogue at the time. Like when you hear a song from them, like hold on, lies, you don't have to worry, don't go. My loving, you're never gonna get it. Giving them something he can feel. Free your mind. You think of the choreography with that song. And so when it started to play, that's what it was. And I don't think it would be weird, at the time or in any time to see someone possibly doing the choreography to the songs. Like the choreography goes hand in hand with In Vogue's releases, just like their great vocals. You expect great vocals, and you expect the choreography with the songs. And as I said, the choreography is just as iconic as the song. Another thing with In Vogue with this single is that they came with the attitude. I don't think they had an attitude with the first album, not that much. Maybe with Lies, but not a lot of attitude. As I said before, with this Funky Divas album, the ladies definitely took their steroids. I've said it before, I say it again. The Funky Divas album is the Born to Sing album on steroids. And another thing is that it's that iconic, and now it's time for a breakdown. I think that that's iconic as well. If someone says, and now it's time for a breakdown, where do you get that from? If somebody says, In Vogue, or you think about it, it's like, no, I know this from somewhere. And then, you say In Vogue, people will be like, oh, okay, yeah. And now it's time for a breakdown. Now, I'm going to say something here that some people are probably going to find somewhat, I'm not going to say controversial, but they might have an opinion about it. And by all means, express it. And that would be, I think, oh gosh, here we go. I think with this song, My Lovin', you're never going to get it. I was going, something popped up on my social media feed where this guy was comparing uh, Boys to Men's Motown Philly breakdown with In Vogue's My Love You're Never Gonna Get It breakdown. And I'm saying to myself, like when I saw that, I was like, oh man, you got to be tripping. It's In Vogue hands down, right? And so when you get the snippet, you click on it and you get the hear the snippet Boys to Men version, you was like, oh man, it's Boys to Men, it's Boys to Men. I mean, they really got it. They got it down. I mean, the beat, the rhythm, everything. Like they have the harmony down pat. Like, oh man, In Vogue, you guys lost. Hearing Boys to Men's version first. I have no idea, but when I first then clicking on In Vogue and In Vogue, they done start singing, they're my loving. I mean, excuse me, never gonna get it part. I don't know, but something happens when Dawn goes into the woo woo woo, and then they start singing their part again, like never gonna get it. It's like, oh man, y'all come on, are you serious? Like, are you serious? Gonna compare? the two breakdowns and not vote for In Vogue. Like there are, yeah, the guys of Boys to Men have a lot going on in their breakdown, and I love the harmonies, as I said, and it seems like it's a more hip. The music is faster, hipper. You can definitely, I guess, kind of dance to uh, Motown Philly. Like Motown Philly is a dance song, and you don't necessarily see yourself dancing to My Love and You're Never Gonna Get It. But as I said, something happens when they go into that second round. It just, I don't know. They just take over. The comparison to me. And not only that, when I thought about In Vogue and comparing the two, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. I feel as if, and this is me personally, that In Vogue is a better group than Boys to Men. I do. And some people feel like Boys to Men is a better group than Jodeci. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think every category that In Vogue was ever in with Boys to Men, they would lose out to Boys to Men. And this is my opinion. I think that EV lost out to Boys to Men because Boys to Men had more clout in the industry, working with people such as L.A. Reid and Babyface, and the people who they had backing them. And I just don't think Tommy and Denny and Vogue had that much clout to pull it off. Like to upstage the Boys to Men in a category, right? And I just don't think that they would have won in the category of Boys to Men because of that clout that carried with Boys to Men. Having worked with Face and everybody, but that's just my opinion. Then we're going over to Hip Hop Lover. If I'm not mistaken, my original album that I had, a cassette, is a different version of Hip Hop Lover than the one I'm listening to now. So, uh, thinking about that, I was like, is this the same version? And also, I went back down memory lane thinking about the time when Terry was on Video Soul and she started trying to do the rap, Wayne's rap uh, in Hip Hop Lover, and she just burst into laughter because she kind of stumbled a little bit. But it is what it is, and I love Max's version when she says brown leather combat sales tag on his hat. He wore his clothes all inside out, and it made me think about the trend of the time. Like, yeah, that is definitely the trend. Crisscross will make you jump. They're wearing their clothes inside out. Definitely a trend. So that was a good part, you know, in that song, making you think about the trend of the time. Then you get to Free Your Mind. When I heard playing the album for the first time, and when I came across it, I'm like, all right, this is a rock. This is unusual. What is Vogue doing? And I'm not saying I was thinking that I disliked the song "Free Your Mind." I just recall saying this is different, but I like the song. Like when I first heard "Free Your Mind," it's not that I disliked the song. I like the song. It was just trying to make the connection that there were actually singing, a rock song. Listening to this song now, I'm saying this song definitely set them apart from all the rest. I would say that this is the song, and I've always said that crossed In Vogue over. I understand For Your Mind did not chart as well as Hold On and My Lovin'. But at the same time, I am saying that this song is the better song, the best song on the album. I like it. I'm not quite sure. This is when I go into my rant about okay, Dawn allegedly said, and I say allegedly, uh, said that because they were seeking outside counsel regarding that album. I mean, the recording contract with MC Hammer, so on and so forth. And when Tommy and Diddy got wind of this, and this is alleged, as I said before, uh, she mentioned that they became upset at the ladies and they did not give them the opportunity to write on the album the way they wrote on the first album. I recall Terry saying in an initial interview the reason why they did not write on the album is because time was a factor, and so they didn't have the opportunity to write on it because time was a factor. Either way, whoever says who's right and whoever says who's wrong, that is definitely not important. It isn't. What I will say is that I kind of now think about how the ladies of In Vogue still receive strong material. Because Tommy and Denny, if in fact what Dawn said is true, is it really relevant when you think about it? Because Tommy and Denny looks as if they were still focused on giving this album the much needed attention that it deserved. If there were creative differences within the group around them doing any songwriters or sharing any of the songwriting, I don't think you could tell because they were definitely giving some strong material. Now, I do recall in an interview as well that this album is a combination of all of their experiences, from, signing their recording contract, all of the things that they had gone through, and then somehow or another they what's the word I'm looking for? I guess you could say they kind of acted as consultants. They were consulted, so to speak, and so that's how they got some of the ideas for songs is by talking to them about their experiences, so on and so forth. But it is what it is. I just want to make that small little comment about the writer's credit, and if in fact the goal was to sabotage In Vogue uh, creatively from anything, they still delivered great material. Tommy and Denny did, as far as the writing is concerned. There's another thing too that popped up when I got to this part of the album, listening to Free Your Mind. I'm still wondering today regarding Sylvia Wrong, what did she not like about this album? Everyone has said, the ladies in the group, Tommy and Denny has also said that she did not like this album. I have to go back and listen to maybe an interview with Tommy and Denny, or rather watch an interview with Tommy and Denny to find out what they said about it. I know they talked about it briefly, but I don't know exactly where to pinpoint what did she say. I don't like the album in its entirety, or did she just say I just don't like uh, the songs? There's not a must-have song, so on and so forth. I don't recall any of them saying that they went back and reworked the song or anything like that. They were pretty much pleased with what they had came up with, and so hey, if you want the album, here it is. So as I said, it's still kind of difficult to determine what she like. What did she not like, about this album? Like what was it? I will say also too, Free Your Mind very well could have been the first single released from the album. And I'm wondering what would have happened if Free Your Mind was the first single. Like, would the album sold more sooner? Would it not? Would it be so foreign to us to see In Vogue in that rock attire? Like, say for instance, what we know about Free Your Mind, the video concept, the images, and all of that stuff. What if In Vogue came out with us with that song being the way it was? Would it have been a hit? Would we all have gone like, we don't know, not quite sure. Maybe we don't need to come out with this one first. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm learning now to kind of respect that process because at first I'm like, hey, y'all executives, y'all can make this thing work. Y'all can make people buy this stuff and this, that, and the other, and make things work if you really and truly wanted to. So, it's just food for thought. Then get into desire. And I was like, this desire, I like it a lot. I'm kind of wondering that I don't think Desire was ever released as a single or anything like that. And so I was saying to myself after listening to it, Desire could also have been a song that was released. I can see that. If you recall, there was a song called Mr. Loverman by Shabba Ranks. And I recall that song being a very popular song. And I'm like, you know what? They could have rode the wave with that just for about a second or two, with the Shabba Ranks song, Mr. Loverman. It would definitely have not been out of place. And I do think that they could have really worked it if they wanted to. So yeah, love Desire. I love the sensuality about the song, the sex about the song. I can see the ladies, pretty much being in some kind of, what I want to say. I can see them being in some sexy, like lingerie or bathing suits or something or another where they're, pretty much in their love den. How about that? I said that way. They're in their love den, and of course, they have the guys in there, and they're pretty much, singing a song "Desire" to them. I could see that. Yeah. But anyway, nice song, nice song. I love it. I love it a lot. I love the way they did her vocals, Cindy's vocals on it. I love how they kind of tone down her vocals. Like it's not so soft that you can't hear what she's saying, but she's not overpowering uh, uh, with that song. It's very sensual and I guess you could say kind of lustful. I'm trying not to say the sex part of the yeah, I'm trying not to say that. Instead of sensual, I want to say sexual is what I'm trying to say. But of course, certain words you can't use. But anywho, moving right along from that. After Desire, you have given him something he can feel. And being that I purchased the album before the second single, giving him something he can feel, and they had already been on the BET's Video Soul, hosted by Donnie Simpson. I when I heard Dawn say how difficult it was for her to sing this song, and she said, and Aretha did it too. I wasn't making the connection that this was an Aretha Franklin song. So when I went and listened to it and I heard a version, and then I would later hear Aretha's version, and I have to say I still like Invo's version of giving him something he could sing, sing better than Aretha's version. However, I love how Aretha ends hers. I do. I like the way she ends hers. And it seems as if it's more singing, I mean, more talking. It's like a talk singing type thing than it is, in the actual singing. But hey, the ladies of Vogue definitely pulled that song off. And when you get to songs like Free Your Mind and giving them something he can feel, for me, I'm saying this is their finest hour vocally on this album. Free Your Mind, definitely strong vocals. I love them. At this moment in time, I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. The same thing with giving them something he can feel. They sang this record. Uh, yeah, they sang their behinds off. And as I said, I think the song is their version is better than Aretha Franklin's. And then over to the fat lady scene. You know what? I pride myself on knowing the lyrics. So in one video, I actually did the entire song. Did I not? But I just love it. Here's a flow, an info hip hop intro. Time to rap. Talk about the info pertaining to us for who we open up the harmonies doors and let the vocals soar. I'm getting it mixed up, but anyway. So I was like, man, like when I heard it, this is probably be one of the cheesy parts of the album. But at the time, when if you were an In Vogue fan, the way I was, it wasn't whether or not if you liked the song or not. When you intentionally stopped and you listened to what Dawn was rapping, you love the song. You love exactly what they're saying. I think of this song, if I had a concept in mind as far as a video is concerned, for this song, I'm seeing the ladies of In Vogue, they're at a press conference, right? And each one of them sitting down behind the table. They got to have a microphone in front of them, right? And Dawn, they're being asked, hey, can you guys do this again? Hey, we hear you guys have the sophomore jinx. How do you feel about the sophomore jinx? Do you think that you guys can do this again? You had an album out, so you have a bit of a reputation of being, standoffish, unapproachable. And what I like most about it is it's not so much a rap song to me as much as it is them like, responding to whatever the critics have to say, fans in as well as in the industry, and they're holding a conference, type thing, something that you do during a boxing match or when the basketball or football players, the game is over and they go in and do a conference, to talk about, their performance that evening. So that's how I kind of visualize it. Ain't over to the fat lady scenes video, and it's not easy duplicating the form, is what it is. Give it up, turn it loose. Again, I go back to that video, the interview with Donnie Simpson on Video Soul, on BET, and I immediately thought about Max, on BET's Video Soul, and she is, of course, singing the song, and that's when I heard the song, them singing it. I was like, oh man, I like this. You know, this is a nice, song, and the fact that it looks like they got some airplay, no, not some airplay, some marketing out of. I hope this thing is not staticky because I done had to move, so hopefully you guys don't hear it in static. If you do, I apologize. But yeah, I think it was good marketing. Uh, for the ladies of In Vogue to actually sing some of the songs on from the album on Video Soul, because hearing it, I'm like, oh man, I like that too. I'm gonna have to check that song out. And yeah, moving right along. This is when I would say, out of all the songs on the album, when I listen to Give It Up, Turn It Loose, this is when I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to hear this one more time. And I was like, okay, time is definitely a factor. So I'm not going to repeat it, but I definitely want to hit the repeat button because I have to hear Give It Up, Turn It Loose one more time. So if there's a song on the album that I would say is my go to song, and I'm kind of surprised, it's definitely Give It Up, Turn It Loose. That's a repeater. Yesterday, I like yesterday. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking with yesterday, with them releasing it as not releasing it as a single, but I couldn't quite understand what were they thinking when with yesterday adding music to it. Yeah, I think the song would definitely have been a better song and a song that they could have released. And I'm not quite sure if they did release it or not. But if without the music, because I'm thinking about songs like Shy's "If I Ever Fall in Love Again," and since everybody was jumping on the bandwagon with being an a cappella group at the time, even though In Vogue never said that they were an a cappella group, it was the fans that tagged them as an a cappella group. But I could see them getting away with this. I could, and I really do think that this would have been a hit song for them yesterday. That is. Then we go to Hooked on Your Love. And Hooked on Your Love is definitely a repeater. I'm like, man, yeah, I want to listen to this so bad, but time, again and again, but time is, definitely a factor. So I decided not to. And this is when I started to say that there were certain groups like Jade and Escape that were jumping on the bandwagon of them because of the success that En Vogue was having doing remakes of other divas and um, girl groups. But I understand that they were not the first ones to do something like that. The Good Girls, on Motown Records, that group, were, redoing, remaking the Supreme songs. Love is like an itching in my heart. And what was the other one? There was another Supreme song that I can't remember. I think they did as well. The Good Girls. Love Don't Love You, love it. And I'm here to tell you, I love the vocals. I still say today, Cindy has always made the comment that the other ladies had a very soulful sound. She didn't think that she was very soulful. She didn't think she was going to get in the group, listening to them sing. She was like, there's no way that I was going to be asked to be a part of the group. But this song here, what I stood out to me the most is Cindy. Cindy is singing her butt off. I mean, Cindy is, she's very rough and tough with it on this track, and I love it. You know, and I'm wondering again, like, why have they not allowed Cindy to just really cut a rug? Like, Terry, we expect that from Terry. Terry can definitely do it, but for whatever reason, Cindy has never been put in a position where, any of the songs she leads, she is not singing her behind off, and we know that she can, do it. Of course, we know from Free Your Mind and maybe another song here or there, but when it comes to songs like Love Don't Love You and What Is Love is what it is. And I think that's a good one. Good place to end, of course, with What Is Love and talking about Cindy and her vocal ability. But there's one thing that I cannot stop. I mean, I have to touch on, and that is house music with What Is Love. As I was listening to it, I never made the connection. I'm thinking about house divas and how in Vogue singing in house, in house, in rock, in reggae, in rap, they're doing that, and I'm saying to myself like, yeah, Jomanda. I'm thinking about those divas. I'm thinking about a diva. I'm thinking about Sybil and all of the other house divas who were out at the time, and how the ladies of En Vogue could have definitely ruled in that category if they released What Is Love, like that could have done well on the house chart. So when I think about it, and you know what, I'm glad I'm thinking about it this way, because I don't know if you guys have thought about it, but En Vogue released 5 songs from this album. They released 5 songs from this album. And this is just my personal opinion about it, thinking about it that way. Do you think that this album was done? Right? Do you think this album was done? It ain't over. It ain't over. It sure ain't over. We got a long way to go. See how things just come flowing through. But do you think this album still has some life? Is what I'm saying. Like they didn't have to stop at What Is Love, not What Is Love. Love Don't Love You. They didn't have to stop. I mean, to look and see how a song such as Give It Up, Turn It Loose, was like all over the place as well. Like that, I'm looking and I'm saying, like, okay, Give It Up, Turn It Loose really did, some good numbers for them. And I just don't think Love Don't Love You was done. I mean, made the album uh, suffer. I think it was a great album, and it has some life. And I think What Is Love could have definitely been a song that was released on the album. I mean, from the album. Yesterday could have been released. So we have My Lovin', Free Your Mind, giving him something he can feel. Give It Up, Turn It Loose. Love Don't Love You. As I said before, What is Love? Oh, so What is Love was released. It was on the dance charts. It was on, see, I didn't know that. Awesome. I see. I love it when I make a suggestion or think about something, and there you have it. It definitely was. Yeah. So there you have it. So What Is Love was released again. So why this it wasn't over. Like What Is Love was released as a house song, and I think they could have gotten more life out of the album releasing Yesterday. I think Yesterday should have been uh the seventh song from the album. Wow. Wow. This album still had one more lifeline. One more lifeline. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. Yeah. Why wasn't this album bigger? Wow. You know what? I mean, it's worthy of a discussion. It's worthy of a discussion. Maybe the In Vogue craze. Maybe the In Vogue craze can talk about this a little bit. See, it's an hour. It's an hour into this, and I can still talk about this album because it's In Vogue. I don't get it. I'm not quite sure why this album wasn't a bigger album. Now that I think about it, it should have been a bigger album. Uh, it had more life to it. I think that uh, they could have remixed more songs. And here's another thing that I was saying. I'll touch on this too. So I'm just touching on some things right now since I got about a good 10 minutes before I'm into an hour. Another thing that I kind of found disappointing when it came to In Vogue is that they did not collaborate sooner with other artists. And they were not featured on soundtracks sooner. Yeah, it was like these ladies were not. Oh, they just they oh that's a good way of saying it. They didn't socialize much with other artists. I'm talking about musically. Yeah, they didn't socialize much. I'm sorry. Like, just think about what could have happened if they, remixed some of these songs. Like, okay, I'll give you a prime example. SWV. I feel like SWV did what they did. It achieved the success they achieved after releasing Right Here, because of course Right Here was like, not quite sure. But then it seems as if they kind of got like, we need to do some remixes. Like, we really need to take the remixes seriously and expand the audience, so on and so forth. They could have got some rappers, more established rappers, to come in and kind of work with them. Like, this album could have definitely sold another 5 million records. I do. I do. And remixing could have helped that a lot. I'm gonna stop there because I could talk on, and it's almost time to go to bed. Well, my motto over here is simple. Put your behind where your heart desires to be, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing that. And if you've gotten this far in my commentary, I think it's only appropriate for me to, ask you guys to hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, hang out with me. I really, truly do appreciate you keeping me company. Yes, I love company. Yes. So you're welcome over here. Uh, and also remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. I look forward to seeing you next video. And until then, take care of yourselves. All right, I'm out.